Hey everybody, Asher here, and One Night in Karazhan has been announced for Hearthstone as the next adventure. So what we're going to do in this video today is talk a little bit about the metagame, but more specifically focus on 5 decks to look out for in the new Hearthstone adventure. Now before we even get started on that, let's go over just a few details and a few ground rules here. First off, the adventure comes out in 2 weeks, so while the metagame is stabilized, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Keep in mind that the effect of this whole thing is only going to be 45 cards. So while it may not have a wide effect on the overall metagame, there are going to be some cards that will probably inject some new life and hopefully some new deck archetypes because, like I said, things have I don't want to say they're stale, but they've certainly stabilized, and as we go on the ladder, it'll get a little bit more predictable. Secondly, only 7 cards have been revealed at the time of the making of this video, so obviously we are putting our speculation hats on and hoping for the best. But this speculation is informed by the current metagame, which I don't have a new report to really put out because it's not terribly different from before, other than OTK Warrior coming to the fore, albeit it's a very difficult deck to play. Control Shaman using Ancestral Healing and Big Taunts is finally a list that's kind of been figured out. Does good in tournaments. On ladder, I think it does good enough as well. So you still have your top tier of Warrior, Shaman, Warlock. Then you have Hunter and Druid bringing up the second tier. Rogue, Mage, Paladin, somewhere in there in the middle. Priest, who knows what's on. Priest is not in a very good spot right now, and it's going to take more than one expansion to fix Priest, kind of in the same way Shaman was at that issue. But with that in mind, let's look at what the actual announcement entailed yesterday. Ben brought an interesting lens to it, and not from his laugh, which he didn't really bust out too much, but from a statement that, and he hinted at this a few times, that they're trying to bring some different archetypes into the game, some different styles of decks. So let's go ahead and look at some of the cards that have been revealed so far, and let's think a little bit about what could be brought into the metagame here once One Night in Karazhan is totally released. Once again, it's out in 2 weeks. They'll do the same release structure of one wing every week from there. We'll know the cards ahead of time, and I'll have a separate video going over the list and my thoughts on it. Regardless, first deck that we can speculate about is Beast Druid. Now, Beast Druid is very interesting because we have Enchanted Raven, a new card that was announced. Everyone will get this for free. You don't even need to buy the adventure for it. And it is a 1-mana 2/2 beast. That's good. That passes the vanilla test very well. Mark of Yasiraj is a card that you can put on that 1/1, or on that 1-mana 2/2, and it becomes a 2-mana 4/4 draw card, if it sticks, which is a little bit of a catch because there's a lot of ways that a 2-health minion can disappear. And the metagame already is baked a little bit to actually fight off turn 2 4-health things, thanks to Totem Golem and to a lesser extent Armorsmith, but pretty much Totem Golem. So it's a card that's good. Is it good enough to make Beast Druid a thing, which Ben Brode alluded to? Hey, maybe this could happen. Well, there's sort of 2 ways you can build a Beast Druid. One is a kind of slower, control-y Beast Druid, and honestly, Adel Grizzly, which is the kind of deck you want to throw in there, not very good. Druid of the Claw is always good, pretty much going to be a staple. Knight of the Wild, it's just, I'm just not entirely sold on Knight of the Wild. In fact, I'm not entirely sold on, you have a 1-mana 2/2, which is fantastic in of itself. I don't think that's going to make a slower deck work necessarily well. On the flip side, you have aggro Beast Druid, which I have seen on ladder before. It has stomped me before, mainly from the surprise factor. But it is something that is already out there, already tinkered with. Could work very well. The one downside of that, though, is that you got to ask yourself, does an aggro deck want to play a buff on a 1-drop to make it 4/4 instead of putting other creatures out on the board? Now, the card cycle and everything's very good, but I think Beast Druid is going to be interesting. It could be something that emerges. I don't necessarily know if Enchanted Raven is what pushes it over the top. Can't even say it's going to be a tier 1 deck. But I do think if Beast Druid emerges, it'll be more of the kind that tries to kind of cap out its curve at Stranglethorn Tiger and make bigger plays with things like, oh my god, forget the name of the cards, Savage Roar. But things like Savage Roar, things like that. Second on the list, and this is the other one that Ben Brode explicitly referred to in the revealed, and that's Thief Rogue, or Burgle Rogue, or steal other people's cards and make them work for you Rogue. So even though Archfam Ramfram, or Arch Thief, can't even talk here, doesn't necessarily work with that in of itself, we do have one card that was revealed, which is the Enchanted Peddler. Keep all this enchantment in mind. That's part of the theme here. Which is a 5 mana 5/6. Reduce the cost of cards in your hand from other classes by 2. Keep in mind that you have to have the cards in your hand already. Keep in mind that the 5 mana slot for Rogue is already fairly competitive. But still, it is a solid card, very solid stats. The everything else is just kind of a bonus. But what cards actually will steal steal other cards? You have Burgle, you have Undercity Huckster, Nefarian, Grand Crusader, next is Mage Sarad. Then there's other cards that other people can play as well, like Spellslinger. Then you even have the 1 mana change into a random minion every turn. So, I mean, there's cards out there that will make this happen. And the thing is that Thief Rogue is going to rely on if there are more cards out there that'll let you steal things. Which, honestly, having a bunch of classes come together and fit into one deck kind of does fit the theme of the expansion if you're bringing in everybody to party in a tower 70s disco style. So I do think it could work. I think there may be something out there lurking that we don't know about yet that could make a Thief-style Rogue work and be pretty interesting, because cost reduction is always a very strong thing. The thing is that you can't necessarily control what you get, at least from Burgle or at least things like Nefarian. But still, it's a positive. So we'll keep that in mind. Number 3 deck on the list is some kind of super combo Druid or Mage or Rogue, and that would be, because of a card that was revealed, Barnes, which my very first impression of the card was, that's a nice 400 dust right there. And truth be told is that this card may not stand the test of time. It may be more of a fun card than a good card. But how can we possibly make it good? That's what we're here to speculate about. 4 mana 3/4, summon a 1/1 copy of a random minion into your deck. I'm not 100% sold that this would work very well for things like a N'Zoth deck. But on the other hand, you do have the possibility of doing things like major combo decks. Like if you can get down an extra 1/1 Therissian and get that tick, that's good. It's better than the Priest Legendary that'll copy a 1/1 minion, same as being a little bit better than a Shadowcaster to a point, because you have to stick a minion to the board. The catch is that you have to control what minion you bring out. Now the thing is that you're in control of the deck that you actually build. So there is potential there for, like, okay, I'm going to be able to control having like Malagos in my deck and a bunch of spells. Let's make it work. The catch is that you want to get your Barnes before you get something else. But even if you get something like a 1/1 Auctioneer, Barnes is only 4 mana, so you can technically get a lot of stuff from that as well. You'll be able to do more stuff on the turn, or if you play him on curve, he's a reasonable body that puts another body on the board. So I think this is a card that is a little dubious to a point, and we'll know more when we know the more set. But if it does come into play, it could open up some really, really, really busted combos, or at least you can get them out early. If you have the cards in your hand to make them work, that's different. But Barnes at least presents the possibility. Now, next on the list is a archetype that I know we need, and that is Turtle Warrior or Taunt Warrior, because we know Warrior absolutely needs another archetype here. But truth be told, this is more of a speculation left field one based on the picture of the Netherspite fight from the reveal here. Now, Netherspite, for those of you that didn't play Karazhan for like 2 years in the Burning Crusade, like I did in my WoW experience, is a fight where there's different portals that have laser beams, and you have to stand in front of the beams to make them work. And the Netherspite Adventure fight that was previewed kind of looks like the same thing. So my question becomes, what if there's a mechanic that is introduced from at least one card that does have a similar thing? There's cards out there already that is like, if your card's on your left or your right, do something. We have that in the game already. But if you have something that shoots out a beam, and then, okay, this character gets this ability based on this beam, or this character gets this debuff. Let's say it gives something where there's no real penalty if you don't attack the minion, but if you have to go through it, it's going to be a problem. That could be where a Taunt or Turtle Warrior comes in. There's already Bolster, which is a good card in a bad deck. There's already plenty of Taunt Makers and plenty of Taunts just in Warrior in general. So I do think that if there is some adjacency bonuses that kind of come from the theme of Netherspite, that could open up Taunt Warrior. Now, is it going to be necessarily good as like Cthulhu Warrior or any of the other controls? I don't know for sure. But, like I said, we're just speculating here. This is a deck to at least think about here. Which gets to the final think piece, and it's a think piece that's very popular, once again, thanks to Ben Brode. And that is Priest. What can we possibly do with Priest? Where is this unicorn that's out there? Now, it wasn't revealed. Some people said Ben Brode could just show his unicorn list and say, that's it, we're done. But, in all honesty here, Priest is a class that'll probably take more than one expansion to get through. But if it is going to happen, I think a lot of people are trying to make a little bit of a mistake reinventing the wheel by just saying, well, let's remake Control Priest. Let's make Control Priest work. It's an archetype that does work, and if you're good at it, you can make some combos and make it work. So I guess the question is, why in the world do I have Curator featured here? Curator is a card that I think people should pay attention to, not necessarily sleep on. 7 mana, 4/6. It's like half an Twin Emperor, so that by itself is kind of meh. But it's a taunt, which is good, and it can draw you multiple cards. Draw a Beast, draw a Dragon, and draw a Murloc from your deck. Once again, this is a good deck building archetype exercise, because Curator is a neutral, and strictly based on the stats, I would argue in this metagame, Curator is better than Ancient of Lore. And Ancient of Lore used to be a 2-off in pretty much every Druid deck pre-nerf. Now, granted, you're only going to be drawing creatures with this. You're not going to get spells, but it'll still let you sift through your deck. But even if you don't have a Murloc or a Dragon or a Beast in your deck, drawing 2 cards instead of 3 is still really, really fantastic. But why do I have it with Priest here? My thought is, honestly, if Priest is going to make a comeback, it may be more of a tempo variety. Now, the Priest hero power is one that is very good at keeping your minions on the board through healing, which can be a positive tempo swing. Priest has some very good individual removal spells that can also create some very good tempo swings, specifically Shadow Word Death, to a lesser extent Entomb. Usually not Shadow Word Pain, but, I mean, they're out there. Priest is a class of removals. And Curator is a card that will slow down the deck, a little bit. And because it's not like Variant and putting cards directly onto the board, maybe it's not a tempo card in and of itself. But let's look at tempo decks that have worked for Priest in the past. Specifically, I think of Tiger Priest, which is a deck that ran Stranglethorn Tiger. You do a lot of things to buff stuff like that, and it works. If you can get a Curator, draw possibly another Stranglethorn Tiger or one Stranglethorn Tiger. Priest is also a deck that likes to run dragons as well, even Ysera, to lesser extent Chromagus. Those are cards that do already work in Priest. So I do think that if we have a tempo deck that does potentially emerge, Curator could very well be a part of it, just for trying to get extra cards in your hand. Now, granted, for any good tempo deck, you still need an early game, and right now, the early game for Priest is just, sometimes it's pass, 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 all can I circle, hope for the best. So that's going to have to change. Maybe Ben Brode will introduce a unicorn Priest card, or a unicorn card specifically, that'll fix that and shore up the early game. But it's just a thought exercise for the time being, and that's it for now. This is Asher. Like I said, 5 decks to think about for the new expansion, One Night in Karazhan, which will come out, I believe they said August 11th. 45 new cards. Like I said, it's not going to have a super broad impact on the Hearthstone metagame. The decks that were around before will very likely still be here, but we'll get some new wrinkles. And I think if we can get some new decks that shakes things up, that's going to be good. That's going to be what we want. But that's it for now. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to disagree with me. It wouldn't be Hearthstone if we weren't speculating like crazy with only having the first bit of information. We will do this again soon. We will talk about the rest of the set when it is released. But I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for watching. Take care.